You know, this Daddy Bush dying, of all things, my one of my sisters, very nice woman, loved by everybody that knows her. She married a guy that was, I think it was second, maybe cousin, I don't know. And he was directly related to Bush. He even had a definite facial resemblance to Bush. So he sired her three children, twin daughters, and her son. So I actually have relatives that are related to George Bush. My sister, as I recall, one time when she was back east, it was at Martha's Vineyard or something, she went to some gathering where Barbara Bush was there. I think she said she got to meet Barbara Bush, but just a little interesting personal factoid about the Bushes. But I voted for Baby Bush the first time around. My whole issue I was passionate about was abortion. So at that time, that was my whole reasoning. Before that, I've always been thought of myself as a liberal, and I was brought up kind of liberal. But like I said, I've got no allegiance to any specific political affiliation at all. Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. They're just words, man. Socialist, capitalist, just words. It's so muddied and bloodied up now by evildoers, man, that just got. It's so hard to find our way out of this thing. The only hope is to turn to God for truth. I can give you the information. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. And another thing I can't do that the Father can do, the one that loves you in a way that I can't touch, I can't hold a candle to, okay, is that he's the one that can save our lives. I can't do that. Your kids can't save your life. My kids can't save my life. Your parents can't save your life. My parents can't save my life. Okay, my spouse can't save my life. Your spouse can't save your life. Your best friend can't. Nobody can save your life, but he can. So this is the reason to give your life to him. He's the one that gave you life. Now give it back and decide you want to be his servant. And when you do that, he'll say, well, what I want you to do, how I want you to serve me, is to serve your fellow man in some capacity. And so that's why I do what I do, is because I want to be happy. So there's selfish reasoning. Okay, God's a grantor of happiness. And he tells me that in order for you to find happiness, because you want to be my servant, is to serve others. So you do these things. You try to enlighten them. And you tell them, look, the main ingredient to finding true happiness is to have true freedom. And the path to true freedom is to find economic freedom. And the path to doing that is this. So this is what I explain over and over again. What's going on here and how we're going to fix it, but how far gone we are and how difficult and traumatic it's going to seem. But I say, come hell or high water, whatever it takes, God help us. Do it, man. Give and power Trump. I know Trump's a good guy. I'll believe it with every fiber of my being, that he understands that eternal life is far more, infinitely more valuable than this temporal existence. And so he doesn't care about all these multi-billions anymore. I mean, it's long since been boring to him probably. Okay, like it would be to all of us if we were born with the state of affairs that God wants us to be born with incredible prosperity across the board for everybody from birth. Born free, born secure, out of fear, and still serving each other, loving each other. So that's true capitalism, folks. It creates a rising tide of prosperity that lifts all boats, okay? It's that simple. So instead of making $1 an hour, which was minimum wage maybe 50 years ago or so, you'd be making 10 cents an hour now. And 10, 20, 30 years from now, making a nickel an hour. Yeah, that's right. But it's worth a lot more in buying power, in worth, than that dollar an hour was. That's progress. That's capitalism. That's the net effect. So, I know what I'm talking about, my friends. I do. When it comes to getting to the bottom of things, getting the cat skin, solving problems, I got all the answers, and they're not hard. You turn to God for your opinion, you'll find it. So it's not my opinion that you got to prescribe to. If you agree with me, then you're likely tapped into the spirit of truth because you want everybody to be free. You're willing that everybody be born free. Yeah, from the money masters of misery too. We got to render it irrelevant. Are we? No, it just keeps getting more relevant. Even the rich want to hoard. They're so insecure and fear. I mean, look at Burt Reynolds. When the public hear Burt Reynolds, I mean, he was an actor, for God's sake. They're all unthinkably wealthy, and he lived in a mansion. Well, he's probably lied. He probably cheated. He probably gave away his fortune to what? He had a kid or two. I don't know. And, before he died. And he said, well, this is why I want to do it. I'm dying anyhow. And so I give it away so the government doesn't take a chunk or however. Maybe just the image he wanted to convey to the public where, even the rich can die poor and lose it all. I don't know. But you understand that at the end of our days, it's not going to matter anyways. Okay. But you see, the problem is that people, they hoard wealth when they're insecure. So if people were made to feel secure with a basic income, do you understand how people would loosen up with the purse strings, everybody, and nobody cares about money? It's just everybody's got it, and it's worth so much. And this is, thank God for capitalism. I mean, if this is where it led us to freedom, then great. But like I said, one way or another, just let's get the cat skinned. Give some ideas yourself, but let's fix it permanent. No more of this volleyball game. No more of these games. You call it socialism or you call it capitalism. It's causing problems. Whatever. I don't give a crap. They're all just stupid names. Who quantify, qualify, define, expand, explain. Talk about it. What do you really know about economic principles? Okay, and theorem. What do you know about cause and effect in regard to these matters? Okay, how do you define progress? What the hell are you talking about here? Everybody's got to answer up if you're going to stand before your owner someday and give account. And in your right mind, you'd want to give account, okay? That's it. And you don't want advantage over anybody in your right mind. So you're willing to live in a world where everybody's born free, absolutely free, utterly free, totally free, truly free. What else is in the news? Current events I got here. I got recent events and talking points in my notes here. They give out selective subsidies. How is that capitalistic? I mean, you see, there's so many people, they don't speak out against this kind of stuff, but it's like, oh, we have, we accept socialism for the farmers and we subsidize them and keeps the food prices down and we approve of that. But, they say they're capitalists. So it's selective. I mean, I object to that. Why should the industry, the fisherman industry, be protected, but my industry isn't? Okay, that it's okay that, undocumented workers come and take my job. And what the government's not going to, well, wait a minute, they took their jobs. I mean, we got to give them a subsidy now. No, we're not going to discuss that. So they leave certain people out of the loop and they have selective subsidies for selective industries and, what they deem. And it's, just willy-nilly and there's no basis or substance to what they choose and how they choose it. We do what we want and there's no rhyme or reason, but just accept it. Just go along and we'll call it capitalism. And yeah, we give a little socialism here and there selectively. And there's $50 billion a year. We're not going to talk about how that makes so many people unfathomably wealthy, guys like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, and so many other investors out there that become wanton landlords that own thousands of properties, right? We're not how it goes in their pockets. And no, it's a welfare subsidy. Blame the poor. They're weak. They couldn't pay their rent. They couldn't crack that nut. They couldn't reach that bar. It's their fault for being poor. We're not going to talk about how all the problems in your local communities are originating from on high. No, we're not going to unsound economic policies and how did the wealth imbalance happen and how socialist sympathy is not happening in a vacuum because of crony capitalist fascist policies. So the real communists are working in this way. And yet guys like Alex, they act like they didn't. Well, yeah, it's that diabolical, Alex Jones. I mean, you know that. Their diabolism knows no bounds. Okay, it's a very deep well of diabolism. And to get a couple of steps ahead of these people is nearly impossible. You've got to really turn to God for help. Like Jesus said, be as shrewd as serpents, be as evil. That's what that word originally meant. It didn't mean astute, like it's devolved into meaning like it. No, what he meant was, no, you be as evil as demons, okay? So you get into the mind of the demons, just like a criminologist got to get into the mind of a criminal to figure out their next step before if they're a mass murderer, they get ahead of them. They get ahead so they know their victims, and so they keep an eye out on them. That's what we have to do. But it's tough, man, because these people were in it so deep. If guys like Alex Jones are really deceived, and he's not just being intellectually dishonest and being a liar and a deceiver himself, because he's trying to protect his long-held belief systems of kind of being a mini elitist, sort of. He doesn't want to talk about the big picture, just wants to, just demonize and villainize people for their socialistic beliefs and what a utter failure they are. But we're not going to talk about the drivers, the causers, what induces these problems. No, we don't want to go there, because it's a conversation that hurts my head, and it might dash my false pride and my false belief systems. So he's kind of like an archetype of other people out there that do the same thing. That they just say, hey, I'm a success. If I can do it, I've heard it over and over again. But they won't talk about these same issues I'm bringing up. You don't want to talk about, you say you're a fiscal conservative, but you don't want to talk about that $50 billion a year, this welfare subsidy that's only making the problem of homelessness worse and making all these other people, fabulously wealthy. We're not going to have that conversation, huh? Oh. And I'm not supposed to think you're being intellectually dishonest. Huh. That somehow you think your belief systems are being threatened by the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Huh. Well, I don't get it. I don't like selective subsidies. If we're going to subsidize one industry, then we got to subsidize everybody's industry. As simple as that. It's only fair. This Francis Macron character, this guy, to me, he is what the Bible talks about, this strong man standing up. He's got all the hallmarks, all the character attributes of something like a beast kind of a guy, really just a representative of Satan and these satanic powers. This ruling class elite, real sycophant, money-loving, groveler, boot-licking. I think a lot like Obama. I think Obama and Macron share a lot of these characteristics, Maybe they're competing for the place of prince of the earth in this matter. But they're failures, and I like to point out how Obama greatly increased poverty and homelessness in America. People that think that he was a socialist or something, I mean, come on, give me a break. And not any kind of a good socialist, not any kind of an egalitarian, not at all, man. No, that wealth disparity, wealth imbalance in America just expanded immensely under Obama. So Obama, vaunting him as a good president, oh my God, he's right behind Slick Willie and Baby Bush. And, I'm ashamed that I voted for that clown, but you know what? I mean, it was about abortions. And now I realize, hey, a basic income would stop abortion. Okay, because if women are made to feel secure, okay, instead of fearful about having a kid, there's going to be a hell of a lot less abortions out there. I can guarantee you that. That's the answer. Not making abortion illegal so we go back to coat hanger abortions and all this back alley abortion crap. No. Because if people say I can't afford a baby, then that's their decision. I can't afford it. That's what we got to get to the bottom of, because it's very unnatural for a woman to kill her fetus, her unborn child. Very unnatural. It doesn't happen that I'm aware of in any other species. It's a very evil, ungodly trait. But that's why I voted for him originally. But I didn't vote for him the second time. And I voted for Obama the first time, not the second time. Has anybody else but me noticed how the mainstream media vaunts the most miserable conservatives that profess conservatism and republicanism and capitalism? They vaunt the worst, the archetypes of this, and say these are great people. The mainstream all rally around Daddy Bush. Oh yes, great. Look at the hoopla and all this. And it's like, dude, he's the worst kind of, these people. He's an anti-conservative. He's an anti-Republican. He's an anti-capitalist. Okay, and then they do the same thing with Obama. I mean, he's supposed to be the liberal guy, right? Well, he's anti-socialistic. At least anything at good socialism that actually works for the people. That's egalitarian. No kind of socialism like that. He's anti-democratic. How do you get? He voted for that bailout of '08, like the vast majority of these politicians did. Oh wait, he was absent for the vote. Or he made himself absent, or then he put his stamp of approval on it. I forget. He was a senator at the time, right? So, yeah. So how do they defend? They call it democracy when they went against the will of over 90% of the American people, and they call the bailout of '08 a democratic move.